Okay guys, this is Stuart Rose at Oath Keepers, and we're in downtown El Paso, and I'm here with Conservative Anthony, who's a local resident here, and he's going to explain to us what we're looking at here. What is this right here we're looking at?
This is
Beto's wall, right?
This is Beto's wall, okay? Mr. O'Rourke, along with the Elite 7 of El Paso, which include Woody Hunt, Paul Foster, Veronica Escobar, O'Rourke, Sanders, just to name a few. Those individuals are nothing but special interests, and they've displaced many families, elderly and poor people, out of this neighborhood. This neighborhood is called Duranguito neighborhood. It is one of the oldest, if not the first neighborhood in El Paso, Texas. It has a huge amount of historical value. And these individuals are hell-bent on destroying it and wanting to build a AAA soccer team stadium. Our voters did not vote to have a soccer stadium built. They used and twisted the words around to their convenience to where now they want to build a stadium here. They displaced families out of here that knew nothing else but Duranguito. They kicked out the elderly and the poor. And when I hear Beto O'Rourke talking about eminent domain, you can't build a wall, dude, you and your special interest groups literally came here and made it impossible for the owners of these buildings to maintain their property.
So how'd they do that? They send inspectors in here?
They started sending inspectors over here, inspecting these properties, making it hard for the owners to keep up with them, to the point where it was not worth the hassle for some of these owners to continue fixing, and many of them ended up selling. They caved.
These are all residents in here.
Look, there's the other side. Look, people were displaced out of these homes.
So did they use eminent domain, or they just hassled them with inspectors until they quit?
They threatened to use eminent domain, and eminent domain was an option on the table. However, they intimidated most of the owners into caving into them and allowing them.
And here's a poster about that, right?
Yeah.
Does the poster say in English?
It says, Duranguito no se vende, se defiende. In English, it means Duranguito does not sell out. We defend ourselves.
These are the local residents who did not want to move. They lived here for their whole lives.
And these people that you see on this flyer up here on the wall, these are actual residents that have lived here in El Paso. These people lived here all of their lives and were displaced because of the Elite 7 of El Paso. Corruption at its finest. Special interest, it doesn't get any more special interest than this.
Now, how is Beto connected to that group?
Beto is connected to this group because Beto actually set all of these quality of life bond projects that are being passed since he was in city council way back then. Beto O'Rourke's father-in-law stands to gain millions after the building of this structure downtown that they are so hell-bent on building. The whole Elite 7, they do not care about El Paso. We've had city council meetings in the city council chambers to capacity, and every single individual in that city council chamber was in there protesting this stupid building that they're trying to build here. And you know, our mayor, he claims to be a Republican. Margo, you're not. You're a rhino. We're coming for you too. You're out. They're trying to build their AAA soccer stadium out here, and the only people that benefit are the Elite 7, because all this is going to be on the taxpayer back. All of this is on taxpayers.
So the people here were harassed by building inspectors and compelled to sell.
Correct.
They couldn't upkeep the homes.
It got to the point
And they're
where
threatening them with condemnation.
correct.
That's how they do it with eminent domain. They'll condemn your building and say that it's worth pennies on the dollar of its actual value, and then they snap it up and give you the vastly reduced fraction of its actual worth.
Exactly. So that's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to displace these individuals and
Well, they did it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're gone. The whole neighborhood, gone. All these people were displaced and moved along elsewhere. And I get it. Some of these buildings needed work, but the historical value that they hold far outweighs.
Well, in a lot of places, the city will pay for the upgrades, or the county will pay for the upgrades for the historic buildings, and homeowners get money, and they get free construction work done to upgrade their home into a historic district. But here, they just threaten them with eminent domain or reduced value and condemnation. Huh?
Yeah, and what's funny to me is literally on the opposite direction, and we'll show you guys here in a few seconds, literally on the other side of this building is the Annunciation House. For those of you that are not familiar, the Annunciation House is basically a legal human trafficking organization that works out of El Paso, Texas, works hand in hand with the Diocese of El Paso and the Diocese of Juarez. So what's happening is that the Annunciation House is working with Casa Inmigrante in Juarez. So basically it's the same thing, just in different cities. And the people that are at Casa Inmigrante in Juarez are one step away from crossing into America. Once they get dropped off at the bridge and they get processed by ICE, then they get sheltered at Annunciation House. Annunciation House is making a killing out of holding these individuals at different spots throughout the city and busing them throughout the country. Annunciation House is making a killing, yet they're asking for millions of dollars from our city taxes to start helping house these individuals and feeding them.
Which way is that?
Annunciation House is right back over here. See that building with all those colorful pictures on the wall?
Oh, the murals?
Correct.
So they have a sign up there on that building also for the Duranguito neighborhood. Do they realize who ran them out? Do they know that Beto was part of that, or Beto's father-in-law?
They have such a short-term memory here, and it's not being brought up and discussed about in the media because these elite seven of El Paso have the media in their pocket. They will never talk bad about this guy. They are sold out to them. Make sure you don't get my car.
Yeah. So that neighborhood was condemned. It's going to be used for a stadium. And then right here is where they're currently.
And here's the Annunciation House over here.
Okay.
That red building, that's where they house the illegals at. Now, I want you guys to really analyze this. The moment that when and if they build that huge soccer stadium, being that everything is to capacity, all of the roach motels are packed, all of the churches can no longer take any more people, our border patrol stations are to capacity, our customs agents are to capacity. What do you guys think is going to happen when we have a multi-million-dollar facility available, completely just not being utilized? What do you guys think that huge soccer stadium is going to turn into with so many illegals coming into our city?
Claiming asylum.
Claiming asylum seekers or whatever you want to call them. What do you guys think they're going to do with that soccer stadium? It's going to be a giant migrant center. And that's what they're trying to do. El Paso will be one of the biggest migrant facilities in the nation, and that's a fact.
That's what you think is going to happen?
Yes. In El Paso currently, guys, they are busing over 3,500, not individuals, 3,500 families a week into your country, into your neighborhood, out of my county alone. That's just one city, El Paso, busing 3,500 families out of here. And the guys over here at Annunciation House are responsible for all of
Now,
that.
you worked on Beto's campaign, right?
Yes. I was actually a part of Beto's campaign before he got elected into Congress his first time around.
So 2012?
2011, 2012-ish era. And I want to thank you, Beto. Your corruption turned me into conservatism. I appreciate it. And I'm not going to stop. We're going to keep fighting for what's right, and we're going to continue to stand up, and we're going to continue to speak out.
What did you see when you were working on the campaign? What changed your mind?
A conservative here from El Paso asked me, why are you supporting this guy? I said, why not? And I started thinking, well, why am I supporting this guy? He said, look at what he did while he was in city council. And sure enough.
About this neighborhood?
Yep. I started looking into it, and sure enough, I mean, the only people that are really gaining from all of this is his family members and the people that are part of the Paso del Norte group. Paso del Norte group equals the Elite 7 of El Paso. These are billionaires playing with El Paso's tax money and doing whatever the hell they want with it. So it's a free-for-all for those individuals. And unfortunately, they have the media bought out. You will never see an honest report from the media. So it's on us to start standing up and making a difference and stepping up against these billionaires.
So when you were working this campaign, you were talking about, you mentioned how his personal behavior, when you were talking later on, you went back to his house. Tell us about that.
Okay.
About how there's two Betos, basically.
So a couple, close to 2 months ago, I took some individuals to Beto's house to show the hypocrisy of the left. He claims that walls are immoral, walls are for bigots. Well, I showed up to his house with 4 illegals wanting to hang out. So we had a picnic in front of Beto's house in his front yard. We put up signs and posters in front of his house. And sure enough, about...
What did the sign say?
The sign said walls are for bigots, locks are racist, stuff of that matter. The same stuff that they use on us. And I started putting signs all over his front yard, and lo and behold, guess who shows up like a good old American boy? Beto on his little bicycle. He was out on a bicycle ride. He then comes up to me pretty upset and starts asking me what I'm doing here. I caught him off guard, so definitely he was out of character. He was pretty upset. He went inside, he comes back out after I guess he collected himself, and he comes out and puts on his show, his Crazy Hands show. Beto came out.
So his real persona was on the bike.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you guys doing here? And what did he say when you...
I asked him, Beto, if walls are so immoral and you want to start knocking down walls, why don't we start with the wall on your backyard? You have a pretty high wall. Why do you got a wall here, Beto? Beto, why do you have a wall? Why do you have a door in your front yard? What's going on? I can't even go inside your house. Why is that? I hope you get what you're trying to accomplish. And he walked inside. He came back, and then he was in character. He came back out as Beto. So there's 2 sides to this guy. Don't be fooled. There's 2 sides to this guy. And I wish all of you guys share this video, start bringing awareness and bring consciousness to people that are falling for this guy's dirt, because this guy's as crooked as they come. I don't care about his past. Whatever he did in his past, that's his deal. I care about what he's done recently as a person,
as a politician.
Ask yourself, how many bills did Beto O'Rourke author and pass? Not co-author, because he probably co-authored a couple of them that he signed off on, but how many bills did Beto actually author and got passed? Think about it, and then get back to us.
Oh, you mean Congress?
Yeah. So, let's bring some consciousness. Let's wake these people up. This is what Beto does right here. He kicks you out of your house. He kicks you out of your house. He displaces the poor, doesn't care about the elderly, and he'll shoo you off all for his personal gain and for his families.
But he wants a wide open border to bring
But he
in
wants
people.
open borders, while his house is nice and barred up. Every single window in his house is barred up. He's got metal gates in front of his house. He's got a huge wall in his backyard. So all this, that walls are immoral, let's start taking the walls down at your house. Let's start taking those doors down. Why don't you just invite all of us over? Big sleepover, huh? I don't see you housing not one immigrant. But you want the rest of us to suffer amongst them and be taking care of them while you're off in a multi-million-dollar home, wifed, to a multi-billion-dollar Harris. So I'm not falling for that stuff no more.
So what's your opinion on why we're seeing this mass immigration of this, the mass asylum seekers?
In order for us to really understand the core of this issue, we have to understand the United Nations Open Migration Pact that was signed. Although the United States did not sign on to it, unfortunately Mexico and Canada did sign to this pact. And this pact that they are signed on to is destroying our sovereignty, and it's abusing our welfare and our healthcare system, because we are now having to care for individuals that never paid into Social Security. These individuals never paid any taxes, and now we are on a rapid downfall, to the point that we will be to the point of brink, because we cannot afford this. This is not fiscally responsible. We cannot afford to continue to play daddy to the world and keep bringing in these illegals, because that's what they are. They're lying when they say that they're fleeing violence. When people from Honduras and Guatemala say that, oh, I'm fleeing violence, not even. How are you fleeing violence when your city or your country doesn't even have a city on one of the world's most dangerous or violent? Tijuana just came in on that list as #1 most dangerous city in the world. Juarez had been off the radar, and now Juarez is back on, coming in at #5. So how do you claim that you're running from violence and persecution when your city's not even on that list?
So they're going from Guatemala to Juarez.
Yeah, you see no Mexicans trying to claim asylum over here. You see none of them trying to claim asylum. So it's just a complete mess.
And what's the motivation, you think, with the Democrats for doing this?
The Democrats are importing votes. Guys, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. Look at the Veritas videos that were shown on Beto O'Rourke's campaign when they were undercover. You hear the campaign staff talking about taking campaign vans and shuttling illegals to the DPS to go get an ID or a driver's license, because in Texas, once you have that, you're basically good to go and you're good to vote.
Voter, huh?
Yes, these people are importing votes. Keep in mind, Texas only won the senatorial race with Ted Cruz and Beto by 200,000 votes. At the rate that we are going at and importing illegals into our country, in 200 days, they will have surpassed the votes that they need to win the senatorial race here in Texas. Well, what do you mean in 200 days? Yes, that's exactly what I mean. On a daily basis, we are averaging anywhere between 700 to 1,000 apprehensions in one county alone. One county. Imagine what is happening all along the border, starting from California all the way south of Texas. What do you think is happening? And might I add, these individuals are not staying at the border. They're being shuttled and bussed around the country. And you want to know my personal opinion? They're being bussed and shuttled where the votes are needed, on the electoral college vote. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. So we need you guys to get involved. We need you guys to get to your local GOP headquarters, become a precinct chair, get deputized, so then you can sign up people to vote. And you need to, after you've done those 2 steps, then you take a class to become an elections judge. We need you at your precinct. We need you to get out and get active. We need you to be hawking these elections, these polls. Yeah, we need poll watchers, guys. Yeah. It's crucial. It's crucial right now. It has come down to the people to take action, because there's not going to be one person that shows up magically to your town to save you or save your precinct or your community or your county. It all falls on you now. It's all on the people now. These politicians aren't going to do a damn thing about it. It all falls on you. So I encourage all of you guys, please get involved. Go to your local GOP. The time is now. We're living in the most important time in human history. Literally, guys. I appreciate you guys for letting me rant on for a couple of minutes. Thank you so much. God bless you all. And my name is Conservative Anthony with Border Network News. Have a great day.
All right, thank you, brother.
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to say a few things also. This is why it's critical that people focus on their local elections and making sure, like here in Texas, it's actually a constitutional mandate that a person must be a U.S. citizen in order to vote. You must be a citizen to vote. And that's how it also is in New Mexico, where I just came from, talking to local officials and to border ranchers. Both New Mexico, just as two examples, and New Mexico and Texas both mandate you must be a citizen to vote. And yet, there's no citizenship requirement that's mandated before someone votes. If they go get, and New Mexico just passed motor voter too. It's already been that way in Texas. They can go get a driver's license even though they're not, or an ID, a state ID, even though they are not a U.S. citizen, and they can go ahead and register to vote, and it's left up to the county clerks to supposedly purge non-eligible people from the rolls who are registered to vote. That's exactly why the Democrats want automatic motor voter. Anyone that goes to the DMV is registered to vote because they want the illegals to vote. And they're counting on the county, either the county clerk being lazy or being corrupt. And if they're in a Democrat district, I think they're going to be corrupt. They're going to let them vote intentionally. But even when they're not in a Democratic district, if you have a lazy Republican who's a county clerk and is not doing their job, you're going to get illegals voting. And in New Mexico, I talked to some locals that were trying to get people removed from the voting rolls who no longer even lived in the state. They weren't residents, and they couldn't even get the local clerk to do that because the local clerk's just plain lazy. So you've got to focus on your county election system and clean it up so that when you have an election in your county, every voter has at one time or another proved that they were a citizen. If they get a Real ID Act for the driver's license, they have to prove citizenship. But like in New Mexico, there's two tracks to a driver's license. One is Real ID, and the other one's not Real ID, where you're not going to be flying. And so a person doesn't have to get a Real ID. They don't have to show citizenship. So you're going to have to do it at the county level. If you have a corrupt or lazy, like here in Texas, what's the excuse of the Texas legislature and Texas governor? Why have they not closed that loophole and sealed it up so that only a proven citizen can vote? Why is that, Anthony?
I'm sorry.
What's the excuse of Governor Abbott in Texas and the Republican-controlled legislature to make sure that only U.S. citizens vote in the elections? Why haven't they done that?
That's something we should all be asking ourselves.
Either incompetence or they're part of the problem. They want the illegals to be here too.
Yeah.
And you guys got to realize there are a lot of rhinos or Republicans out there who are globalists and who are open borders Republicans. John McCain was one of them, for example. You know, everyone keeps talking about him, how he's a war hero. I don't give a damn what he did in Vietnam, whether you want to call that being a hero or not. What I care about is what he did as a member of Congress,
right,
as a senator. You know, he opened the door, and he called him McAmnesty for a good reason. So you have a bunch of traitors inside the Republican Party who are leaving the doors wide open too, because a lot of them love, like the Koch brothers, they're open borders advocates because they love the cheap labor.
Yeah.
So they don't care about preserving the sovereignty of this country. The Democrats are going to replace you. They're going to replace all Americans, and they're replacing guys like Anthony. He's a walk-away Hispanic American who walked away from the Democratic Party, and they're replacing him too. A lot of Hispanic Americans and Black Americans are starting to wake up to the reality of the Democratic Party, that they're going full-blown socialist. But it's not going to matter if you're replaced. It won't make a difference if you walk away, if you're a Hispanic or Black or whatever American, and figure out the corruption and the socialism of the Democrat Party and walk away, if you're replaced with an illegal voter from another country. And that's exactly what they're doing. So you've got to make sure, nothing's more important right now in the short term than making sure that you clean up your election system right down at the local precinct and county level and make sure that only citizens vote. If you don't do that, they're going to gain a permanent lock on political power.
Absolutely.
It'll be illegitimate, and of course you should not accept it, but then you'll have no recourse after that, no political recourse, no peaceful recourse to correct the ship.
Guys.
So very, very narrow window of opportunity to get this thing cleaned up. So all the Republicans running around doing all the other activism they're doing, to me it's kind of a joke if they're not cleaning up their electoral system.
Absolutely. It's literally the most important time in human history, guys. If America goes, it's a done deal for the rest of the world. We are still very, very much capable of saving this, guys. We are. If you think the situation is bad right now with illegals, God forbid a Democrat or one of these liberal Democrats get in office, because if he does, there will be open borders, and I don't care how many activists, how many protesters show up, it will be open borders, and there's nothing anybody will be able to do about it. We have an opportunity, a golden last opportunity, to have our children grow up in the America that you and I had the opportunity to grow up in. It's hanging on by a thread. That's his house, by the way.
Oh, this is Beto's house?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We have a golden opportunity.
There's Betoville right there.
Yeah, that's Beto's house right there, guys. All barred up. We have a golden opportunity to preserve the sovereignty and the Constitution of our country still, and we have to take advantage of it, and we have to not be lazy and complacent anymore. We don't have time to be, oh, I'll get involved tomorrow, I'll go next week or next month. No, the time's now. The time is now.
And even if you live in a Democrat-controlled state,
get involved.
You need to make sure that, like in Mexico, for example, they've got a horrendous new socialist governor, and a supermajority in the Democratic Party controls their legislature now. And they've been pushing through, they tried to push through full-term abortion. That was finally pushed back because the people made such a ruckus over it that they blinked and got afraid of what might happen. So they didn't pass it. They also blinked and didn't pass the red flag law. Now why? Because about 28 counties out of 33? 28 out of 33 counties declared themselves to be Second Amendment sanctuaries and also to be life sanctuaries, and said they would not comply with either the red flag bill or full-term abortion. And the sheriffs all stood up and said no also in these counties. But not just the sheriffs, the county commissioners and the town councils did the same thing. So that's an example of how you can push back even where the Democrats control the state legislature and the state governor's office. You can still resist at the county level. And the same thing has to go for the voting. If you have a corrupt Secretary of State that you can't count on, and a corrupt governor that you cannot count on to make sure you have clean elections, or you got a lazy governor, like in Texas apparently, Abbott so far has said nothing about this whatsoever.
Yep.
Either way, you have a responsibility at the county level to make sure that you've got only citizens voting. However you have to do it. And I'm putting together a model county ordinance to require proof of citizenship one way or another before someone votes. You'll have to adapt it, of course, to your own county and your own state. But I encourage you all to start focusing on what you must do to make sure that every election in your county, at least in your county, is clean. Whatever happens in the other counties, you can't do much about, but you can make sure yours is clean. It's like in New Mexico, 28 out of 33 of the counties passed constitutional clean election sanctuary ordinances and mandate that their county clerks follow through and follow their instructions on how to make sure that a person's a citizen if they vote. If all of them do it, and then the only counties that don't are the Democrat-controlled counties, then it's going to destroy their legitimacy, because you can point to them and say, we are making sure that people are citizens by following the same protocol as the Real ID Act. Show us a birth certificate, whatever they have to show. Follow the exact same model as the Real ID Act. How can they claim that that's somehow abusing people? It's been around for years. So do that, and if they don't do it in the Democrat-controlled counties, then that exposes them as being illegitimate. Then what you should do next is refuse to accept the results of the elections in those corrupt counties that are not clean ID counties. You should just say, we do not recognize, whether it's the electoral college votes, whether it's the popular vote, whether it's a vote for Congress or your state legislature or your governor's office, if it comes out of that county that's corrupt, that is not guaranteed that only citizens vote, don't accept it. That's what you're going to have to do.
Yep.
Because otherwise, they'll just roll over you and they'll claim legitimacy. They'll be illegitimate, but they'll claim political legitimacy. And then you'll have no peaceful recourse left. That's how it's going to go. So encourage you to really focus on your towns and counties and clean up your local voting. Make sure that only citizens vote one way or another. And let them sue you. Sure, they're going to sue you. Go ahead. But you make sure that on election day, only citizens vote. All right. God bless you all. And I might do a later live stream tonight, just to kind of give you a recap of what we did on the border, meeting with border ranchers. We were down there the last few days in New Mexico. And also I want to talk about the New Zealand shooting. So I'll probably do that tonight sometime. All right, God bless. Take care.